Our most loyal fan.
Yeah. She says, good evening, fellas. 2 more sleeps until more Carolina football, and we're turning the page. But look, guys, on the side, you kind of see a new layout of what we're going through with our podcast moving forward, just so you guys can know what we're tapping into in each episode. So for moving forward, the opening drive, it's not the opening drive of the game, but it's the opening drive of the podcast. It's our opportunity to connect with each other, connect with you guys, josh it up a little bit. But moving the chains is our section in our scouting report where we will talk about the opposing teams offense holding the line. It's pretty clear there. The defense, we'll talk about the defense of the opposing team, and then from film to field is our crew. We really put a lot of work in piling through game film from Carolina side, but also the opposing side, so we can give you guys our best thoughts going into each game. And so that would be the section. That will be each section where we'll kind of give our thoughts of what we're looking from the Tar Heels going into each game. Marmar, I see AZ Johnson can help win. I absolutely agree. We touched that on in our last podcast. It's confusing to us why he did not get any burn last game. But there's a lot of question marks from last game. Yeah. And we talked about that. If you missed that, go back. If you want to flip the page back, I'm not sure many fans want to, but flip the page back and go back to that episode and check it out. A lot of questionable play calling all over the board.
We're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, but Johnson, I believe he deserves burn. He put up some great numbers as a true freshman at Michigan State. Came to Carolina. He can take the top off of defense. He deserves the opportunity, but we can talk about that in our from film to field. But the last thing I kind of want to dive into before we actually jump into the game coming up in Charlotte, 7:00. I believe ESPN Plus. I know I'm going to be there with my wife and my 7-year-old Troy. I think you're confirmed going. Yeah. Oh, come on, Trevor, still debating with the wife.
I'm leaning towards going. I've got to clear. I really want my wife to come with me. But her schedule on Saturday, she does hair. Shout out Honeycomb Salon. If you're ever in Brunswick County or would like to travel to Brunswick County to get your hair done, Ashley Hill at Honeycomb Salon. Come see us.
Hey, that could be something at the next live show. She could set up her own booth and do Carolina logos and people's hair and stuff. Anyway,
something like that. But I'm waiting on her to confirm with that. So I'm going. It's just depending on what time I get there.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just about to hear excuses from Trevor. Trevor, get in here.
He's got 3 good ones.
Mine is I told you boys I leave for Georgia Sunday. So I'll be leaving for Georgia and be there for 4 days. So I'm debating on if I go to the game, I'll be away from my kids, and that'll be extra time. So that's what I'm fighting right now.
Time with kids, Carolina football.
I gotta be a dad first. You know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I respect it, brother. I respect it 100%. Bring your kids to the game.
Hey, but wherever you're listening,
Carrie, we know you watching, Carrie.
They'll sit with you, Troy.
Yeah, bro. I love kids. Come on.
I know Troy talks Asha, my 7, almost 8-year-old, every time.
That's my best friend.
She like
that's my best friend. She don't know it, but that's my best friend.
Yeah, she's a trip. But look, if you're listening on Twitter right now, do us a favor and we retweet this out so we can try to get it out to as many as people. But drop a comment, and we'll be able to see it. The only ones we can't see that are over on Instagram, but we can see Twitter and we can see Twitter and YouTube right now. After this episode, in a few hours, it will be uploaded to Spotify. But guys, in the opening drive, I kind of wanted this is our opportunity to kind of talk about something that's not. Hey, Marmar, I appreciate the repost of the stream, my guy. Look, we're rooting for AZ. We did a breakdown on him earlier in the season, and we believe he needs to burn. So, Marmar, we appreciate the repost there. But this is our opportunity to kind of talk something that's maybe not Carolina football related and sometimes Carolina football related. I wanted to see if you guys saw this, but maybe spend only like 3-4 minutes on it because we're already 15 minutes in. Love joshing it up with you guys, but we definitely want to get to, Charlotte. So, but did you guys see this? A source confirms to On3 Sports that the FBS Oversight Committee voted in favor of a one-time only portal. This would be 10 days starting January 2nd. No spring portal, no 30 days. Significant moment for the player movement era. So basically, this is voted for in favor, but not, I don't think, officially passed yet. Is that correct?
That's the way I read it.
Yeah, I think they got to go and they vote on, the board will vote on it, and majority will win.
So right off the get-go, tell me kind of like, I know we would have kind of been screwed if that would have been the thing with Belichick coming in December. I got to give Troy credit for that. That was his thought prior in our, what I will officially call our production meeting. Yeah.
He mixes up again, Troy.
super official there, production meeting prior to tonight. Troy mentioned that, but Troy, I want to kind of get your insights on this. What's your thoughts? Are you for it? Right off the cuff, are you for this, against this? And then Trevor, I want to get your thoughts. Are you for it, against it? But only just a little bit here.
I'm more neutral now, just because it was, just released, today. So I'm kind of indifferent on it at the moment. I obviously think guys, need a chance to, if their current situation isn't to their liking, and they want to explore other options, I do think that they need some adequate time to do that. So I don't know. We'll let the powers that be kind of hash that out, and we'll just stay tuned and see what it's about and form an opinion, from there. But I mean, definitely a big moment for the player movement era, for sure. I mean, it's a weird time in college football with guys coming and going and this and that and the third, and guys transferring before they ever get on campus, and it's wild. It's like the wild, wild west, pretty much. But yeah, I'll be looking forward or keeping up with it.
Yeah, good thoughts, Troy. Trevor, let's kick it to you. Get your thoughts.
So like we were talking about before, obviously it would have messed us up right now this year, because Belichick was coming in like December 12th. But I think if it would have already been a rule, we'd probably wrap up that coaching search a little sooner than waiting until, because it went on a little while. So I like it in terms of where we're at now, position wise. I think it would be better just to wrap it up, and who's staying, who's going, and you roll with it, right? So I'm in favor for it.
Yeah, right off from the get-go there, I haven't done much research. I was a little late to this news, actually. I have no notifications like turned on. So like Tar Pit Podcast, personal Twitter, Instagram, whatever. I don't get any notifications unless I get on the app. Like I just can't. I can't do it. Or I'll just be like, we'll never get anything done. So like right before coming on tonight with you guys, and talking about the flow of tonight and what we would get into, I saw this and I was like, hey, this would be perfect for our opening drive. So like my quick thoughts are like, I think this is something that the coaches definitely want. I kind of want to get the players' feedback, right? This just dropped, right? I'm a player first fan. So I'd like to get their feedback. If I was a player, I would always like to have options, but I can definitely see how it makes common sense for there to only be one transfer portal window. Now, 10 days, that seems a little slim and narrow to me. I feel like if there's going to be one transfer portal, it may need to be a little bit
30 days,
15 days, something like that.
Something in between.
Shout out to our guy, UNC for Life on Instagram, has around 46,000 followers. He just joined us live on Instagram. So hopefully you're still up there and got that shout out. But any closing thoughts during our opening drive segment before we transition?
I'll say on the days, I mean, I think you kind of know, like, are you going to stay or are you going to go? So I don't think it would take 30 days to know if I'm leaving or going.
Well, I think you, and this is player, exclusive, I guess you could say. There's a different word I'm looking for there. But yeah, I feel like you really kind of know more that you're going to transfer as opposed to, where you're going to go. You know what I mean? And that's what I think. Like, it gives you some adequate time to meet with these schools. I mean, in some instances now, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some pre-portal conversations going on. And I know there's rumors of that. I'm really hesitant on kind of rolling with things that I hear until it's, hearsay, I guess you could say. But for the guys that aren't in those positions, it gives them an adequate time to, meet with teams, meet with coaches, establish some form of relationship, get a good idea of where you're going, talk with family too. You know what I mean? But I also do think, I don't know, if you committed, you committed. You know what I mean? I would like to see some crackdown on that. If you committed, you committed. I feel like a lot of times players commit to coaches, and that's cool too. I understand you got to have a good relationship with a coach, but in today's era, death lawsuit if it passes, maybe in the world of lawsuits.
There's always a lawsuit for sure.
It's always an appeal, always a lawsuit.
Hey, I mean, that's a good point that I hadn't even thought about yet. So
absolutely,
kudos to Joe for dropping that in there.
But it just gives them. I lost my train of thought there for a little bit, but it just gives players enough time to get with the right people, establish relationships and figure out what their next move is. But I do think if you're committed to a school, you're committed to that school. Because in today's portal era, I feel like we've lost touch of that, and that becomes an issue. It potentially becomes an issue on the field. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's all I got to say.
I mean, my last tidbit there is, like I already said, I just feel like 10 days is a little narrow when you're, say, if you want to visit 4 schools or 5 schools. I mean, you're hopping, man, like bam, bam, bam. You don't really have much time to – but –
is that just to enter the portal, though? Not to make your decision?
See, this is right off the cuff, right?
That's why I say I'm going to just, keep an eye on it, but not – I'm kind of indifferent, really. You know what I mean? You have initial thoughts, obviously, so –
cool, guys. Good conversation. Well, that's our open and drive segment for the night. The last thing I'd like to add, which I just said I had a last thing, but my last thing is Detroit. If I don't see that Carolina helmet back up there, it deserves to be right here. So
yeah, I got you, bro. I got you. Look, I rolled back in the house at dang near 3:00 in the morning on Tuesday, and those helmets stayed in there, but they're sitting pretty. I just haven't had the chance to get them out.
Well, everybody don't know where I live, so I guess I could say this. My car is still like full of everything, just what I needed to do this podcast or the day after podcast I got out.
Yeah.
And I know like each of us are still searching from things from when we were at the Carolina Inn. But anyway, guys, hey, good thoughts for the open and drive segment there. So let's go ahead and dive into, the Charlotte Scout. I almost said the TCU Scouting Report. If you follow our Twitter closely, you notice I actually had a mistake earlier. I tweeted out TCU Scouting Report, and Troy shot me a text. Yo, wrong word in there, my guy. But
we got it fixed.
Deleted it within 2 minutes. So, hey, all of us working together, right? But, hey, look, we're talking Charlotte. The Tar Heels travel, I guess, not up, not down, but west across to the Queen City. They've added 3,000 seats. It'll still be the smallest stadium. I loved Belichick's response to that yesterday. I believe it was yesterday in the press conference. Somebody asked him about that, and it's just perfect Belichick. It's like, perfect Belichick. It's like, what's your thoughts around playing in the smallest stadium? And he goes, well, yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm like, not for like, this isn't verbatim, right? But his vibe was like, well, during the COVID year, we didn't really play in front of anybody, but you
kind of sound like him.
Yeah. Oh, not sure if that's a compliment or not.
No, that was a good impression of him. I mean, I felt like, he had said that, man, during COVID, they played with like 100 people in the stands, but in bigger stadiums. But what he did say, and I like this, is they kind of take the mentality that we can really play, you can't really control that. You know what I mean? You can't control the weather. You can't control the size of the stadium you play in. You just go play. And they've taken the mentality of, we can really play anywhere, whether it's California, Syracuse, when we go up there, in any kind of weather. So we'll see. That's obviously got to translate on the field, and it starts Saturday, after Monday. Yep. So we'll see.
Yeah. And,
like that.
I know the players and the coaches that have already been interviewed, and it's pretty much common knowledge, as soon as you have a big loss like that, they're itching to get back on the field and, get that taste out of their mouth. So I'm definitely looking forward to going to that game and seeing what the Tar Heels do, but we'll talk about that in our from film to field, our last section there. But guys, check it out. New layout. So pay attention.
Looks good.
Open and
drive.
Killing
it, Chris. Getting better and better, my dude.
Open and drive to move and change. Watch this color change. Ooh, that rhyme. Let's go. Bam. All right, so moving the change. Let's talk about the offense of Charlotte. Conner Harrell. There's quite a few transfers on the roster of Charlotte. Charlotte, while Trevor, you mentioned this in our last episode, and this is no slight to them or anything, but the type of caliber players through the transfer portal that Carolina obtained versus Charlotte, right? It's just like anything, Alabama versus Campbell or Alabama versus us potentially, right? Like those schools that are in the SEC or, bigger programs that have a longer history of success are going to get more than likely most of the time higher caliber transfer portal players. But they're similar to us, right? A ton of transfer portal players, new coach coming over from Ohio. So let's dive into the offense a little bit. Conner Harrell, Trevor, I'm going to kick it to you first. I know in our production meeting before going into tonight, you talked about his scheme and the offense that he likes to run, and potentially why not potentially, but for sure Conner Harrell transferring to Charlotte made a lot of sense. And if there's a clip you guys have tonight that you want me to play, I know we got a lot. We looked at a lot of film leading up to the night. Just call it out for me, and I'll do my best to get it on the screen for you guys.
Yeah, man. So first of all, I want to show respect to Conner. He's a great kid. I've met Conner a few times, talked to him. He's a great kid, and but to the point that you made with what we talked about, Conner and with going to players, Conner is someone that he left our program to go find a program that he could start at because he didn't see himself starting this year for our team. So that kind of it points there. But one thing with Albin's offense is he's always going after a mobile quarterback. All his quarterbacks throughout those 10-win seasons at Ohio are mobile quarterbacks. Conner, we saw it. I'm thinking back right now to, I want to say it was against Campbell a few years ago. Conner took off running and sprint speed was like 20 miles per hour, right? He's fast, he's mobile. So he fits that offense perfectly. One thing I'm curious to see, there's a clip here. If you want to pull it up, Chris, we'll see a lot of option plays from their offense and getting the quarterback on the run. And you can see last week we got pressure at times on Hoover, but we couldn't wrap him up in the backfield, and he was pulling out on the run and getting away. So we're going to have to play disciplined football, and I expect to see a lot of quarterback run, a lot of option plays, and things to keep our defense on their toes. And kind of we mentioned it in one of our previous shows going up into the year. When you've got a mobile quarterback, it's almost like you're preparing for 12 on 11 because a mobile quarterback throws another wrench into the game plan. But, I truly – you want me to pull it up?
Yeah, just let me know right before you pull it up, and I'll switch to the different screen.
Yep, I've got it right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is just you can see red zone. They're going straight to the option play. Obviously, App State linebacker read it well here, created the fumble. But I think this is some of the style of offense that we'll see. They're going to get the quarterback out on the run. And last week we saw that was something that our defense, when Hoover got mobile in the pocket, he was able to escape and make a throw downfield. So that'll be something to look out for. You can go back, Chris, if you want to.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of that, man. I watched that App State and Charlotte game, and because obviously anybody that pays attention to us and watches our stuff, they know I follow my Mountaineers. So I was tuned into that. And
Troy, do you mind if I ask you a question? I don't know if I know that. Why have you gravitated to App State as your second team?
Well, it all started with my buddy Michael. He pulls for App State. His family's got property up there. We always go and visit Boone, and it's a good little college town, and they just so happen to have really good football teams. So it's something to do. It started there, really. I follow them. I was torn the last two times we played them.
Gotcha. Okay, just wanted to know.
Yeah, but getting back to Conner, man, I noticed with him, a lot of that game for Charlotte, was sort of like us against TCU. You know, the game just really got away from Charlotte. There were certain situations like the fumble that they showed on the goal line. They were driving down to score. That was within like the 5-yard line, and it was a very unfortunate situation because I think that was right before half, and they would have carried some good momentum into the second half on that as well. But Conner, the one thing I noticed with him is he is the same Conner Harrell from Carolina. Now he will burn you if you give him the opportunity to. I think there were times throughout some drives where App State wasn't getting the pressure that they want. I mean, look at the pocket there. That's a good job by their O-line to give him time to really set his feet. And that's Justin Olsen, another Carolina transfer that's been in Charlotte for 2 seasons, I believe. We talk about their receiving core a little bit, but back with Conner, you know, he is the same Conner Harrell that we had. He's just in a different situation than what he was at with Carolina. I feel like Charlotte kind of does a good job at play calling to his strengths. It's funny that I say that considering what we witnessed with the quarterback position on Monday, but yeah,
turning the page. Turning
the page. But Conner, man, he can beat you in a many different ways. I think with us in our defense, we're going to have to put pressure on him. He's obviously not, and I say this lightly because, you know, and take it, please, everybody listening, take it with a grain of salt. While he's not Josh Hoover, he still, you know, can beat you in different ways. So we're going to have to keep an eye on him. We're going to have to put better pressure on the quarterback by our D-line or whatever we need to do to make him uncomfortable, because he showed me in that App State game that with a clean pocket and you give him time, he can deliver the football and move his team downfield. So it's going to be something to pay attention to.
Troy, just real quick, and then I'll kick it back to you. Just kind of give the stats from the Charlotte passing there from Conner Harrell. He was 13 for 24, 142 yards, 5.9 average, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Had a QBR of 21.5, 6 carries on 22 yards with a 3.7 average, long of 17. So just a little snippet there.
He threw the ball more than I anticipated seeing Conner throw, because I was tuned into this knowing that we played Charlotte, you know, the next on Saturday, and I just wanted it gave a good opportunity to see a live look at a team that we play, and I paid attention to it, and yeah, he played well. I can't knock him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting going into Charlotte. You know, definitely adjustments will have to be made, you know, a short week, but it comes down to how many adjustments, you know, can this team really make, right, on the defensive side of the ball going into Charlotte with such a short window.
Yeah, fundamental changes too.
Yes, that's yes, good point. That's really what I was going for there, was the fundamental changes.
And that was heavy in Belichick's interview is, you know, coaches have to put players in better positions to make plays, number one. But number two, players have to then make those plays. No coach on the sideline can go out there and make plays. I know that's kind of cliche to say, but it's the God's honest truth. And players have to, you know, players have to be put in positions to make plays, and then players have to make those plays. And that seems to be the message going into Charlotte from Belichick and the coaches that were interviewed is executing the fundamentals. I mean, how many times did we see on Monday night, you know, the defense, while they're there, they just take a bad angle. You know, I watched that on a corner blitz. While he did make the tackle, he recovered really, really well. He took a kind of a wider angle, accounted for the running back cutting back, and he stayed up in the middle. Now, he did bounce it back late, and Thad was able to make the tackle. But just how many times did we see that from our defense on Monday? And it was frustrating to watch because we've heard leading up to week one that the fundamentals were there, you know. So that it starts with there. That was heavy in the interview with Belichick this week.
Yeah, wherever you're listening to, guys, right now, as we're talking about in our segment, moving the chains, you know, talking about the offensive side of the ball for the Charlotte 49ers as we prep for our game against them on Saturday. If you have any questions or thoughts about their offense, you know, Conner Harrell, the transfers that came over, you know, Henry Rutledge, which, you know, electric, I believe he's the electric returner, right? But also a good running back. He's currently injured. He didn't play last week. Belichick did mention him in the press conference, and some of his verbiage around that was one of the best returners that we'll probably see all season. And that says a lot, when you're headed down to UCF, Charlotte, Duke, State, seeing some good skulls, right? And then we're headed to Charlotte, and Belichick mentions potentially he didn't say potentially, he said the best returner that we'll see. But he's currently injured. There still hasn't been any news about that. But I just wanted to add, wherever you're listening right now, drop a comment or a question for the offensive side of the ball, or you can go ahead and prep your comments and your thoughts or questions for the defensive side of the ball for Charlotte. Trevor, I wanted to kick it back to you. What about the running backs? And then Troy, I'm going to kick it to you for the offensive line for Charlotte. Pretty young. I believe they only have one returning starter on the offensive line. But Trevor, what can we potentially see from the running game from Charlotte?
Yeah, so real quick before I hit the running backs, speaking back on our defense and Charlotte's offense. So TCU last week, what they would do is they would line up, they look to the sideline, and they would get the play based off of how our defense was lined up. Obviously, we'd see what they would do every time is they'd put number 7 in motion, get them on Marcus Allen. Marcus Allen's 7 to 10 yards off of them. They run a quick pass. So I'm curious to see if Charlotte, because I know if I'm a coach, I'm taking that same approach. I'm running my offense. I'm getting lined up. I'm looking kind of like we used to see with Phil Longo when he was our OC. And that killed us last week against TCU. They would see, and you're muted, Chris. But they would see that. And then so I'm curious to see if Charlotte will take that and use it against us this week.
Yeah, and what I'm curious about, you're talking about the defensive side of the ball there before you go into the running backs, is that are we actually going to establish, and this is just an open-ended question, not for us to really go in, and we can probably dive a little bit deeper in that in our last segment, is are we actually going to see any disguises from our defense? Looking back at the film, when Josh Hoover lined up is what Josh Hoover got when he dropped back. There was no disguises, which that's what Belichick is known for, is disguising the defense. And that was very frustrating. But it also brings me to a quick point. Is this defensive staff, coaching staff, not able to scheme to that level and offer disguises because of the potential deficiencies of the talent on the defensive side of the ball? That's just an open-ended question and a quick thought I have. But Trevor, go ahead and dive into the running back side of the ball for Charlotte.
Yeah, so the main guy is who Belichick talked about, Henry Rutledge. He didn't play last week. I haven't saw yet if he's playing this week or not, but he's a guy that's averaged over 7 yards career carry, 7 yards per carries for a career average. So he's explosive. Obviously, Belichick mentioned that he's probably the most explosive returner they'll see all year because he does returning as well. The one thing with the running backs, though, kind of similar to our offense, is Charlotte's only got one offensive lineman returning this year. And I know you're going to dive into that a little deeper, Troy. But so I'm curious to see, they had a guy, CJ Stokes, that took the ball. And, he got 15 carries for 49 yards last week. But he's not nearly as explosive as Rutledge. So it'll be curious to see if Rutledge can carry that torch and if he does play. And I'll be curious. We saw a lot last week where on the defensive front, we had 3 guys lined up at times. So, and that was something at those times where TCU would obviously run the ball and there was holes and they would eat us alive and then they'd look again and adjust it. So it'll be interesting to see. But if Rutledge plays, he is a guy that we definitely need to look out for because he is very explosive.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in here, fellas. I'm trying to pull something up real quick on my computer. I want to touch on the receiving room for Charlotte. To piggyback off of Trevor a little bit from the running back room, obviously we know Conner's a mobile quarterback. You got to account for that. Rutledge, we'll see if he's a go. I know we've seen a comment on Twitter that somebody said if he plays, so we'll see. Stokes, you got to account for. They handed him the ball off 15 times. But another thing that I want to pay attention to as well is you look at Charlotte had 3 guys with multiple catches, 4 guys with multiple catches, and then 5 guys with at least one. TCU had 6 guys with multiple catches and 2 with only one. Be anxious to see while we do have to account for the running back room with any opponent that we play, how many times did we see Monday of just, guys working? And I know we're turning a page, but it has to be brought up in context to what we're talking about now. How many times did we see guys just, Josh Hoover just pick us apart with a multitude of guys? And, while Charlotte, I'd like to think, isn't on that same level, they still have a plethora of weapons that they like to use. So our secondary is going to have to be key too. I just want to throw that in there, to touch on their receiving room and our secondary as well, piggybacking off of the running back room. I don't know if y'all got anything you want to add to that.
I mean, yeah, and one thing too so you touched about it when we showed the highlights. Justin Olsen, you boys remember Olsen back? He made some big plays, especially when we had that win against Wake Forest. Justin Olsen, Sam Howell, they had a connection on those deep balls when we had some injuries. So Justin Olsen is a guy, and he caught their longest ball last week for 47 yards.
Yep.
So
this play right here.
Yeah, so I'll be curious to see if Thad's matched up on him, or if they brought in a guy. He didn't do much last week. He had one catch for 7 yards, but Jaden McCown, he could be that top target. He came in with some Power 5 experience.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was getting with it, Trevor. Is just, they've got guys that they like to use. TCU did too. You know what I mean? So we've got to be accountable for that in our secondary. It's got to, we've got to pay attention to it. It's got to be on our P's and Q's with it. So,
but it goes back to, man, this is a game that our talent advantage should show, and I hope it does, because if not, we might be in real trouble.
I guess I'm more so speaking from, like we've seen the product on Monday, and just speaking in terms of what we'll get to that from film to field. Go ahead. We'll transition or whatever we're gonna bring up next.
Well, speaking of talent, shout out to Tar Heel 247. They put it out on Twitter. Our unofficial depth chart. I know it's a little small there, but it's unofficial. They for the defensive side of the ball, I still don't see. Help me, guys. I might be missing it.
Price
I still don't see Price Yates, which is definitely concerning. He had injuries last year at UConn, was a little bit banged up in the offseason. I don't think he was active in the practice like a pro day. So
did see some clips throughout the spring that UNC football posted of him. So
yeah,
did he get injured again?
Yeah, but hey, this is unofficial. So, but you see Gio Lopez, right there. And number one, Joe over on YouTube made a good point. He said, I think they are still figuring out the team. I don't think we will see what we expect until Clemson. And I totally agree with that. I think, we're really not going to know, and this staff is not going to really know what type of team this is until after the UCF game. However, if this is a close game against Charlotte, and this is no slight to Charlotte at all, but if we have a close game against Charlotte, that's going to be concerning to me. Did we dive into the offensive line and all? I can't recall.
A little bit. I mentioned they got one starter returning from last year's team, so not a lot of continuity, kind of like what we've seen. I like what Joe mentioned, though. I thought of this too. With Belichick NFL, we've heard it bounce around. Is he treating this like a preseason, these games? And then he's like, okay, it don't matter if we lose these, as long as we win the conference and go undefeated in conference, win the title. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
Could
you imagine? Yeah, that thought occurred to me too. But
I wouldn't think when you got all eyes on you against TCU, definitely not in that. He didn't expect that.
Hey, shout out to our guys, Break the Huddle. They're over there in the YouTube. Go check them out. They put out good content. We did a season preview, which I can't say that because it was you guys, not me. But I was about to say, man, a lot of the things we probably talked about didn't come to fruition, in that first TCU. And I think it shocked a lot of people. But he said, good evening, gentlemen. Great stuff, y'all. And he also said, got to support my brothers. Heck yeah, man. We look forward to collabing on future stuff.
Yeah, for sure. That was fun. That was fun with those guys.
Yeah, Troy, Trevor, is there anything else on our segment, Moving the Change, discussing the offense of Charlotte?
We mentioned, talk about offensive line. I will say, I mentioned it when I gave my spiel about Conner, is they seem to do a pretty good job at pass protection with him. There were times, and Conner showed it, where, if he had a clean pocket, he was able to deliver the football at a pretty good clip. Now, there were certain situations in those games that, the game just caught up to him. Unfortunate events happened with Charlotte on a couple scoring drives, and you can't go back and change that. But be interesting to see what kind of pressure we get on him. You got to account for his legs too. That I feel like we'll probably see about maybe a 60-40 pass versus run. I think they're going to try to test us in the run game. We'll see how successful it is. But I do think they're going to pass, and I think they do a good job of pass blocking for Conner. So we'll see what kind of pressure we get on him. That's all I got for offensive line and their offense.
Yeah, there's not much to go off of, after just one game, and, if this was the fourth game of the year, or fifth game of the year, as we move forward, we'll definitely have, more substance and clips and film out there to digest. But, after one game and, they got pretty smoked by App State, just like we got smoked by TCU. So there's not much to go off. But Trevor,
roll nears, baby.
Yeah. Any last thoughts on the offensive side of the ball?
No, I mean, I would love to see a performance. I would love to see them follow up with the same performance they had against App State against us. So not much. They scored 11 points and had 142 passing yards and 76 rushing yards. So I would love to see that again this week.
Yeah. Well, good stuff, guys. Let's go ahead and transition to the defensive side of the ball, which is our segment. Holding the line, wherever platform you're listening on, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube, drop us a comment. What's some of the thoughts around the defensive side of the ball, that maybe you've potentially noticed from Charlotte that we can discuss during this segment. But something I do want to note, in our last one, from film to field, is a section that is really good for everybody to jump into and ask questions and give us thoughts. What are you looking for from the Tar Heels as they go up against the 49ers in Charlotte? What do you want to see this team go out and do? Of course, besides win, do you want to see the defensive side of the ball for Carolina set the edge? I know that's me. I know for a fact I want to see that happen. I want to see Marcus Allen come around. So that's the type of stuff that we're looking for in that segment. But holding the line, the defensive side of the ball for Charlotte, Trevor, I'm going to kick it to you. Troy, if there's something I think you might need to go do, we'll bring you back in a little bit if you need to. But Trevor, go ahead and start us off for the defensive side of the ball.
I mean, with Charlotte, man, last week they got picked apart. Just to be honest, they gave up 404 passing yards. They gave up 182 rushing yards. So whatever App State wanted to do offensively, they were able to do. I'm looking now to try to see how many sacks they had. It doesn't look like they had one sack all game. So I mean, I look at this. We gotta go off of what we've seen so far. We've only seen one game, right? But I would love to see a similar performance from our offense. I would love to see App State. He didn't play much, but they played two quarterbacks, and he torched them apart. Their starter, AJ Swan, 368 yards passing. They brought in the backup late, 36 yards passing. One thing too, I'm going to mention. Clyde Christensen, former Tar Heel, was calling plays for App State last week, former quarterback coach with the Tar Heels. So that was pretty cool to see. But, I mean, App, just point blank, what I said at the beginning, they were able to do whatever they wanted against Charlotte. And Charlotte's defense now, I want to shout out one guy on that defense that is love this kid, man. Wish he was still on our team, and that's Jaquarius Conley. I've got a play in here. I think you're going to pull it up, man. This is a start of the game right here. You'll see. Watch this play, man. They think it's a touchdown at on our side, but the points go up there. But JQ comes in and forces that fumble there. So this was a big moment in the game to kind of – that was huge. I believe it was SportsCenter top 10. So shout out to JQ. That was kind of the
So he punched that out. I didn't see that, but so there we go. He
right
punched
before
it
crossed. Yeah, the ball was coming out before he crossed the goal line. They ruled it a fumble. So that's pretty cool to see him, a kid like him, and now he was a captain on their team this year, him and Conner. But look at him not giving up on the play, man. So shout out to him, and he's one of their strengths on defense. They've got. We could talk about one of their biggest strengths, I would say, is probably their linebacker room. And there's a good linebacker that followed Tim Albin and Shea Taylor from Ohio. He's a transfer, had 72 tackles last year at Ohio. He followed him. And then Reed Williford he's returning to Charlotte. He led them in tackles last year at 77 tackles. So a lot of experience there in the defense. But other than that, they ain't really much more besides JQ on that defense that really wows me, to be honest with you, after that week 1 performance.
Yeah, as you can see, Troy's back in our private chat. He said, put me in, coach. Let me spin. And I said, spin it, bro. So, Troy, what you got?
Yeah, man, to piggyback off Trevor, he really kind of hit the nail on the head with everything with Charlotte's defense, man. App State pretty much did whatever they wanted. 404 yards receiving and passing and 182 rushing. That's the tail of the tape right there for App State's offense and Charlotte's defense. Shout out to JQ. I know he's on the opposing sideline this Saturday, but for him to finally get on the field, I was a huge Jaquarius Conley fan when he was at Carolina.
Troy, just so you know, Trevor went into that very deep, but please give your side of that as well.
Yeah, well, I was at that Wofford game when all that happened to him, and I hated to see it, man. And so shout out to him. Him making this play was huge, man. I actually got up off my couch for that play because I realized it was JQ, and I was like, heck yeah, man. Comes from a good kid, good player, comes from a great family. So shout out to JQ. But, Charlotte's defense, man, and kind of touching on our offense, I'd love to see this Carolina offense get some confidence up underneath it, because I don't think that they have, or, at least I wouldn't think that they'd have much from Monday. Now, I could be wrong. I know there's some good things that Carolina offense did later in the game when the game was out of reach, but so you kind of want to build off that. But I'd love to see I was reading Joe's comment. I'd love to see a full, like, Gio Lopez-led offense to really see what we got from the kid, man. I really want to see Gio do good things at Carolina. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he could bring a different type of explosiveness to our offense. Kind of fun with my words there, but it was a good recovery. I think he can bring that to us, man. I want to see us. If Charlotte's going to give us, opportunities to air it out, I think we need to take them. I saw a comment on Twitter where which said something about, Freddie keeping, it was much like Sam Howell against South Carolina. I found myself saying that to somebody in the game of Longo, taking the training wheels off of them. I felt like they had the training wheels on Gio Monday night. And I want to see him take the training wheels off from him and let it spin against a Charlotte defense that just gave up 404 yards passing. Now, obviously, they're going to try to key on that and really correct things, much like we have to do from Monday night. Both teams are in a really similar position, just different at different levels, talent-wise, I guess you could say. And I say that lightly because in the game of football, if you can play football, you can match up with anybody. It's all about matchups. But I want to see, with Charlotte's defense, coming off that App State game, they gave up a ton of passing yards, and I'd like to see Carolina take advantage of it. We'll get into that from film to field later on. But yeah, that was a good post by Joe.
I'm actually gonna pull that up during our from film to field section. Yeah, I'm still learning my own segment.
Yeah, that's all I got for their defense, man, and kind of touched on our offense. Just want to see more consistency from us, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. But that's if you ever get an opportunity to do it against some of the competition we've got coming up, now's the time to really see what you got. I really think this team and this coaching staff is still trying to figure out what they've got. TCU was a hell of an opener week 1 to figure out what you got. You got punched in the mouth, and you kind of see where your areas of weakness are. I do think, I mentioned it at the beginning of the podcast, and now I'll quit rambling, is that we're all smiles over here at the Tar Pit because, while Monday was tough, you have a huge opportunity to grow. And that's something to be excited about. Anybody that thought that this Carolina team would immediately turn into some kind of championship contender was fooling themselves. Just because you've got a 6-time Super Bowl winning head coach does not mean that you're going to be, that next level that you want to get to. We want to get to that level, but it's not going to come overnight. So I'm still excited about what this Carolina team can do. I'm looking forward to seeing them grow. I think we've got a situation on our hands where each week, we're going to see this team continue to get better, and we're going to see things that we like from both sides of the ball and what we can do good. So we'll see, man. I'm excited for it. I think it's a good matchup for us to really bounce back. Now we'll see how it goes. We'll see how the 4 quarters go. But I do like the matchup for us. I'm done rambling, fellas.
Yeah, I thought this was a funny comment by Joe here. He said I was taking hand notes at the game, and I'm pretty sure he's referring to versus TCU, and I was too. I had my notes app open, taking notes like why are we still playing off the ball? Gio fumbled on this play, no containment on the outside of the D line. Yeah. They open up the second half with a run, outside, which they had already seen that exact same formation and in play, but it wasn't recognized on the defense to make adjustments or whatever happened there. And I actually had a TCU fan behind me that shout out to Vincent. Was it Pryor?
Vincent Pryor. Yep.
Yeah, Pryor. He holds the all-time record for most sacks in TCU history at 4.5 versus Texas Tech in 1994. Did some Googling. But he left us a comment on our YouTube video, which was pretty cool and nice of him. He said, shout out to you guys from your favorite podcast listener and TCU fan. Favorite podcast listener as a TCU fan. And Joe, so I was right there with you taking hand notes. And that's how we kind of got joshing it up a little bit during the game. He was like, hey, what are you taking notes about? And I was like, hey, this is why.
Hey, can I piggyback off that real quick, man? Because for all the viewers that are watching us on whatever platform you are, we appreciate you tuning in, number one. But number two, that's what you get with us here at the Tar Pit. We're a bunch of guys that, are detailed about it to, take notes at a football game that you're at. You know what I mean? I find myself doing that stuff, that kind of stuff too, fellas. My wife went to so many games with me in seasons prior, and she's like, you're texting during the game. Are you not watching? I said, I'm paying attention. I'm writing stuff down that I can talk about on the podcast. So it's that attention to detail that you get over here. And, it means a lot when you're having these conversations and stuff like that. So,
well, now we just got to found out. No, that's good, Troy and Trevor. Now we just got to find out if Troy takes notes. If not, man, he's slacking.
I've winged off of it a little bit because I did find myself like missing certain things because I try to get very, very detailed in my notes. If anybody that pays attention to us and watches our stuff, you'll know that I'll lose my train of thought in a heartbeat. And if I don't have it to the detail, to the T written down, I will forget it when I'm trying to talk about it. So, but I've winged off of it more because doing it for 3 seasons, and going to these games and watching them, and the football background that I have, you do know what to watch for. You do remember certain things. Because while I didn't see the opening drive, I know everything about it. But that's just what you get, man.
And there's also something to be said about living in the moment, right? As well,
absolutely, man.
Putting your phone down and living in the moment. But Trevor, I want to kick it to you for some of your thoughts here.
Yeah, so I don't take notes. My approach is after every game I'm at, I'll go back next day and watch it on TV and watch the game. And I'll be honest with you boys, I could not get through the full game of the TCU. I got it up into that pick six, and I'm like, I can't. I was like, but that's the first time I've not watched a full game in a minute. Usually, even in losses, I'll go back and just watch and look at things, and that's when I take my notes because I'll be frank with you. Our group chats that we're in, we're going crazy during that game. For all the people that were not there, I turned off I'm like, I can't even look at this. I turned off.
I wish you could pull up the emoji or the GIF that I sent in one of our group chats. It's the funniest GIF that I like sending is the Elmo with the world on fire burning around him or whatever. And it gets the group chats. I mean, while we have good discussions in those group chats, it was on full meltdown mode. Like after the second quarter, from the end of the game to the next day to all week.
And there was some full meltdown moments on YouTube too. I don't want to put his name out there because I don't want people to go and pick on him, but he puts out YouTube videos about UNC, and I think he just has a camera, right, and driving down the road, and man, he was in like yelling full down meltdown mode, and I was just like, bro, man, I just want to like give you a dap and just be like, it's gonna be okay, my guy. But I'm over here like, I don't know if it's gonna be okay. But anyway, hey guys, look, we're transitioning to our last segment of the podcast tonight, from film to field. This is kind of what we're gonna be talking about. This is what we are actually going to be talking about is what do we want to see from the Tar Heels on the offensive side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball. We've only got about 10 minutes left in the podcast tonight. So I know we got 200 people tuned in right now. Drop us your comments. Drop us your thoughts. Let us know what you want to see. Do you want to see the D-line establish the edge? Who do you want to see? Right? Max Johnson came in, looked comfortable, took that big hit, stood up in the pocket, threw a touchdown, looked a lot more comfortable in Geo, other than, the offensive play calling was drastically different, right? And I wish I knew why, right? But let us know. Who do you want to see roll out, against Charlotte? Do you want to see Max or Geo? But I want to kick it off with this with this comment here from Joe. He said, same. Appreciate that, my guy. He said, fundamentals, keeping Conner. He wants to see Conner kept in the pocket. And I think it was Trevor that alluded to that was, Conner's got blazing speed, and it's very important that, we keep him. Hey, shout out to Tar Heel Huddle. He just joined us on Instagram. Also, what about secondary depth? That's a good question over there on Instagram. We'll get to that as well. Hey, do you mind letting us know, are you talking about from the Charlotte side or UNC side? I got a feeling you're talking about the UNC side, but I want to make sure we get your question, right there. He said, keeping Conner in the pocket for our offense, O-line, stay on their feet. Yes. Aiden Banfield, he played a lot of snaps last year, did really good as a true freshman. It's really rare that at this level, a true freshman, definitely on the offensive line, gets snaps, definitely at the amount of snaps counts that he got. But Monday night, if going back to that play where Max Johnson stood in the pocket and delivered that pass, I believe it was to Caleb Hood, 10 yards down the field, in the middle of the field, got smacked. And if you go back looking at that, Aiden Banfield was caught narrow-feeted and not caught planted. It was a little bit upright and very narrow feet, and he just got bulldozed. So I definitely agree with that. And said to create holes for the RB. Definitely. Christo Kelly on that first drive was in there. We saw that, and we saw how more efficient the line was, right? But he was hindered on the snap counts due to injury coming in that game. And I think I said that last podcast. It's like Belichick said, bro, do you want me to do my Belichick impression? No, just kidding.
Do it.
Hey, Kelly, we're playing TCU. I know you're a little banged up, but it's football. It's football, my guy. He wouldn't say that, football, my guy, but he would, I just need you to give me one shot here. Yeah.
Hey, Coach, you said it was preseason. It's preseason right now.
Y'all boys ain't right.
All right. Yeah. Hey, I didn't tell you this earlier, but opening drive, I think that fits because that opening drive is about the only bright spot we had last week. So I'd love to go back to that opening drive. So I love the segment, Chris.
Yeah. Thank you. Troy, what do you want to see? Okay. Well, first let's get the Chicken Chuck 5. Love the Instagram handle. Shoot us a comment. What's that about? Chicken Chuck 5. I want to know what the chicken part's about. But what about the second? It's just an interesting name. I want to know the history behind it. What about the secondary depth on the UNC side?
Troy, hey, if he's talking about our secondary, right?
Yes.
Which we assume he is.
Yes.
So, I mean, I mentioned it with Melissa when we did our TCU preview, our TCU scouting report. Other than Marcus Allen, Caleb Cost, and Thad, we didn't really know what we had else at the corner position. So we saw Caleb and Thad balled out, but Marcus got picked on, and Marcus was still out there pretty much the whole game, right? I mean, at times they brought his backup in, but I've got to see it on the field, man, because in that room there's a lot of younger, inexperienced guys at that cornerback position that we haven't seen play a lot. What you got, Troy?
I'll be honest. What are we discussing here? I'm lost a little bit.
What do you want to see from the Tar Heels? As we go into Charlotte, what are some adjustments that you want to see?
Yeah, we transitioned. All right. Yeah, Gibson, that one hit. Yes, sir, Joe. I seen that. I told my guys, watch out for Gavin Gibson. That dude can come down and he will lay the wood to you, brother. Yeah, shout out Gavin Gibson. Definitely got to watch out for it.
He's committed too with that big UNC logo, or not logo, but tatted on his leg.
Yeah, he played good, but I was speaking just at the cornerback position. But Gavin he showed out.
Yeah. What I want to see from Carolina, and I apologize, I didn't lose my train of thought. I just was making sure that we transition into the next segment of the scouting report. But what I really want to see from Carolina is just a renewed sense of energy and getting back to the basic execution of fundamentals. Belichick was very, very high on that in this press conference this week. Guys gotta make the plays. Coaches got to put, I said it earlier, coaches have to put them in position to make plays, but the players have to make plays. And I felt like a lot of times on Monday, we shot our own selves in the foot by just not doing things the right way on the field. Belichick said it. We know how to do them. We just didn't do them. We got to execute. So I want to see the cleanup of the execution of the fundamentals, because that means a lot in football. If you're not doing things the right way, or running a route at a certain depth and then breaking it off, then it throws the whole offense off. And same thing on the defense. If one guy's not in their specific area, then your coverage is blown. So I want to see that, man. And another thing that he was very, very high on going into the Charlotte is all 11 guys on the field being on the same page. We heard it leading into the season opener against TCU. If you've got 9 players doing the right thing and 2 of them aren't, then you're screwed. But it's like he said in his press conference, the best thing is to get back on the field. I think the guys are anxious to play again. In looking at the player interviews, I feel like the morale is still high. There's a notice that, hey, you didn't put your best product on the field Monday night. You got a chance to do something about it and change some narratives. I feel like Carolina football has really had to change some narratives over the last 5 years. But the best thing to do, man, is get back on the field and play. I want to see the attention to detail, the execution of the fundamentals. Chris, you mentioned it, the D-line pressure and the offensive and O-line, holding steady, play calling. I want to see some cleanups on that. I mentioned that about the offense earlier, is, seeing a more fluid offense being ran. So, but when it comes down to it, man, the basic execution of fundamentals, that's got to be cleaned up. I can't tell you how many times we got beat that I noticed on Monday night just by guys taking wrong angles, missing tackles, arm tackling. I mean, I watched film on this game at certain times. It felt like we were getting pressure to Josh Hoover, but the guys just wouldn't finish the play. It wouldn't wrap up. It's like they were still in spring and fall camp. Not trying to get hurt. No, this is live football, fellas. Those guys have different jerseys on for a reason. We need to see them, just shore up the little things, man, because it matters. The difference in winning and losing is the little things. I can promise you that. But
yeah, I saw a comment somewhere in it that alluded to that, and I'm reluctant to say it because I doubt the players have this mentality, but just going off what you said, Troy, is I saw a comment that said it almost it's like they had the approach that they were reluctant to lay a hit. Not Gibson or Leroy Jackson, but they were reluctant to hit. They were reluctant to lay the boom or not scared, but just reluctant to tackle.
Yeah, and I don't know why, man. That's so frustrating to me. Like, I don't get that. You know what I mean? Now, granted, in certain situations, Josh Hoover, you know, he got the ball out stupid fast, dude. I mean, by the time we had pressure, you know, by the time we were in the backfield, the ball was already gone. You know, I understand not getting flagged for a, you know, roughing the passer because you know that in football they love to call that now. So I get it, but in just different situations, man, I can't tell you how many times a guy would, we wouldn't set the edge on an outside run or something, and you leaving your corner out there on the island to make a play, and he just hits him with his shoulder pad, and the guy bounces off and, you know, scampers off for more yardage. You know, just stuff like that, dude.
Yeah. Joe's our guy tonight. Appreciate you tuning in, Joe, over on YouTube. Look, if you got a comment, go ahead and drop them in. We got about 5 more minutes of tonight's podcast. He said, I will give you guys some positive things to hold on to. When everyone left, I went to the team sideline and watched these guys, and they were having heart-to-heart on how they played. Thanks for sharing that, Joe. That's a good thought.
Yeah, for sure. I was glad you put that up, man, because that means a lot. I mentioned it. The morale still seems to be high in player interviews, so we'll see how they come out Saturday. Trev, I think you got some thoughts you want to add, buddy.
I want to pick up with where you were talking about on tackling. So watching the game, man, early on, I think we did a great job swarm tackling. Andrew Simpson, he did a good job tackling. But what I go back to, boys, is it looked later in the game, it looked like what we saw last year. Our defense looked tired. And we heard all offseason, you know, we were hyping them up. Moses Cabrera. I think the guys looked tired to me. A lot of the fundamentals and tackling, it looked like they were tired, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and so Belichick's – my bad. Go ahead, buddy. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, so that's something that I want to see. Can they finish the can we play and keep up the energy the whole game, right? And one positive that it hasn't been mentioned, we haven't mentioned it. Last year, we at times got into problems where we were penalized a lot. I don't know if you guys noticed, but we had 3 total penalties all game. And 2 of them were that Marcus Allen PI that I don't think it should have been a PI, maybe a holding, shouldn't have been a PI, right? And then the false start, the second drive of the game by the freshman Aiden Banfield. Other than that, we played, we weren't penalized. So that's a win for me. That's something that I would love to see us continue to play disciplined, smart football. And we saw in the videos that was posted by the UNC football page with Belichick telling the guys to put the gloves on. They were holding every play. That was a bright spot, I guess we could add on. So I would love to see that. And I want to see the guys, play and not look tired and finish tackling, to kind of go off of what you were saying.
Yeah, two notes I'd like to add. Going into Charlotte, one thing I'd like to see cleaned up, and I'm not so sure that it's possible, if they roll, Lindbergh, back out at center, because, a week leading up to TCU, we knew this was a concern, when they snapped the ball, they wasn't sure where it was going, and that showed up for Gio, and that's really hard for Gio to handle. I mean, it's his first live game action at this level against a legit team, having to deal with, a snap that's rolling back to you. Your first read and potentially your second read is already gone at that point, right? And then Troy, going back to your point, man, it just slipped my mind. The point you had, I can't remember. Oh yeah, Hoover, quick passing. And I think that goes a little bit into, because watching the presser, Hoover alluded to that. I mean, he just came out and said it. I didn't see anything different than I've never seen before. So that just shows you there was no disguising. And so when he dropped back, every time, when he came to the line, he knew most of the time, 90%, definitely in the second, that the third and fourth quarter, he knew that there was no disguise. What he saw when he came to the line was what he was going to see when he dropped back. So he was able to quickly get through his snaps. So that's one thing I want to see cleaned up, is the low snaps. Hopefully that can happen as we go into Charlotte. One thing that I want to see happen outside of setting the edge, which I've mentioned multiple times tonight, is tight end involvement. We brought in a lot of tight ends through the portal. Yes, Max Johnson's brother, Jake Johnson, caught that touchdown, but that was later on into the game. I found myself questioning so much, why was there no simple crossing routes? Why were there no easy rollouts? Why were there no tight ends doing a 5-yard and back, giving something Gio easy to help establish a rhythm for him, which in my opinion, I'm not a coach, but makes sense if you got a quarterback that's trying to get caught up at the speed of this type of play coming from the Sun Belt to the ACC. Got to establish rhythm. So I'd like to see, Connor Cox get involved, Jake Johnson more early on, and then also our guy Owens.
Owens.
Massive target. If we get down in the red zone, that's somebody I'd like to see in the box, and go out on an easy route to give Gio. I personally think that's who they're going to roll with, but that's two things I'd like to see. Let me check our comments before we bring in our closing thoughts here. Any more I want to add in here? I think that's pretty much it for tonight. But guys, it's way too early to throw in the towel, like we've already said. However, I will say, like I said earlier on in this podcast, is if this game is close, like say if it's 24-21 or something like that, that's going to be a big concern for me, right? Moving forward throughout the season. I'll just throw that out there. Troy, Trevor, give me your closing thoughts. Someone you put in our private chat. Are we doing a score prediction? I don't really know. It's up to y'all.
I'm not doing a score prediction.
So closing thoughts from Troy and Trevor. What you got, Troy?
Yeah, man, just I'm excited to be in Charlotte and watch these guys, man. I piggyback off of you. It's not the time to, miracles with this team. It's you gotta be along for the ride is all I'm gonna say. It's a situation I think we have on our hands where I'm excited to see what we've got week to week. But we're gonna have to grow with this team and give them a chance to grow and mesh and all of that on the field. You can mesh in the locker room. The guys have had a lot of opportunity to do that. They seem to be a really close team. Joe mentioned it. Guys having hearts to hearts on the sidelines on how they play. That means a lot. You got to have that. You got to have some continuity within the team, but it's also got to translate on the field. I'm looking for them to do that and getting out there, getting some confidence in them. But you just got to be patient and trust the process. And, I wouldn't be shocked if we don't really know what we have with this team until, you get into the bye week before Clemson. You know what I mean? So we'll see, but we're going to be here regardless, man. And I'm excited. We're all smiles here at the Tar Pit. Still enjoy talking and covering it. If we had, nothing but good things to talk about, number one, we'd be competing for a national championship. But number two, it just, I don't know. You got to ride with them through the highs and the lows, and that's what we do here at the Tar Pit, and that's what you're going to get from us. And we appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate the support. Share it with your friends, your colleagues, anybody that's a Tar Heel fan, or anybody that just wants to have general discussion about college football. We entertain every thought, and we see every message and try to engage with you. So we appreciate all the support, and that's all I got, fellas.
Hey, one thing I'll add, boys, we didn't mention, I want to tell you guys, Merry Flipmas. I don't know if you guys saw, we got a flip today, some good news. So even after that performance last week, Belichick and the guys are still recruiting and bringing recruits. We flipped a lineman, local kid, JB Shabazz, been committed to Tennessee for a long time. Four-star, yep, four-star recruit. Big guy, 6'7", 6'6", 315.
Big body in the trenches.
So we're still recruiting, and just like him, he didn't give up, and he trusts the staff's word. I'm not going to give up on this team. So I want us to see. I'm going to call on the adults in the room. I want to see a better game from both coordinators. And just what you said, Chris. Let's get our quarterbacks in rhythm. And I want to see Belichick's first win as a Carolina college football coach.
Heck yeah, man. I like it.
Yep.
And that's all I got.
There's another Fong bomb out there as well for a potential flip from a Miami cornerback to Carolina, high 4-star.
Miami local kid. That would be huge.
Yeah, Joe says this season is preseason. This is a learning year for this staff. This team is super young, and he's right.
But look, guys, new players.
It's been cool to see the recruits react on Twitter, about the game. They're still, that's been cool, reassuring to see. We've seen Carson Snead put some stuff out, and we've seen Zion and Trayshawn and Travis. It shows that they want to be part of the change at Carolina. And I say change, we got some things we need to get better on for sure throughout the season. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes, but we just know we can rest easy at night knowing we got some Tar Heels that are committed. I talked about committing to coaches. I feel like these guys are committing to the school and the program and the vision that we've got. So that's all I got, fellas. Let's close this thing out. Let these people chill for the evening.
Yeah. Well, look, guys, thanks for tuning in tonight to the Tar Pit Podcast. As we do a scouting report for Charlotte, UNC takes on Charlotte in Charlotte at, was it Jerry Richardson?
Jerry Richardson Stadium.
Yep. Jerry Richardson Stadium at 7:00 on, I believe, on ESPN Plus. I know I'll be there. If you're there, shoot me a DM. Would love to get a good dab in and a picture. Also, if you're there and we're not able to meet up, grab some pictures, some video, send them our way, and hopefully, we can get them on the stream. Devin says, appreciate it, fellas. Great show. Thanks for always tuning in, Devin. Wherever you're listening today, be sure you follow and subscribe to the Tar Pit Podcast. We got a lot of good things cooking, and be sure to stay tuned for our next live game day show, which will take place not this weekend, but next weekend, as UNC will take on Richmond inside Kenan Stadium. So thanks for tuning in. That's all we got tonight. Hey, you never know when an episode or video is going to drop, so be sure to hit that notification bell on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in tonight, and as always, go Heels.
Go Heels.
Go Heels.
Hey Tar Pit crew, thanks for hanging with us today. Quick shout out. Today's episode is powered by Untapped Sports Network. Big thanks to them for the support. If you like this episode, do us a favor. Like it, drop a comment, and share it with a friend. That kind of support goes a long way in keeping the podcast rolling. Make sure you're subscribed and following the Tar Pit Podcast on whatever platform you're listening on right now. And don't forget to follow us on social. We're on X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search the Tar Pit Podcast and you'll find us. Until next time, go Heels.